All right, everybody, welcome back to part 4 in our Tactics in Tea 0 to 500. So we're taking a look at chess.com puzzles in the 0 to 500 rating range. We have it right here, 0 to 500, all themes, and let's get started. All right, so black to move. One of our first things that we're going to see right here is that we are under attack, both our queen and our king. But let's go ahead and figure out all of our available moves. So obviously we have this bishop right here, and apart from that, we pretty much only have this rook all the way down. Now, if we go ahead and take that rook, what are we looking at? Well, that will be with check, and there are no available options for the white king to escape. There are also no options to capture the queen or to get in the way. So let's go ahead and win the game. An easy 100 puzzle to get us started. All right, now we are looking at white to move. So what are our possible options here? So if we're looking at captures, we have this capture available to us. We have this capture available to us. And we have this capture available to us. Those last two came with check. So let's take a look to see which is potentially a better move. If we go ahead and take it with the bishop, again, the king can't capture it because it is protected. But if we go ahead and capture with check, the king can easily move out of the way. So it's great that we're capturing a pawn, making the king move, definitely going to be on the run for a little while. But if we were to take it this way, we in fact cut off all available escape squares. And again, we're able to quickly win the game. So 377, an easy way to do it. Awesome. Another king and pawn endgame. And this one is definitely going to be an interesting opposition scenario, but a horizontal opposition, not necessarily opposition going the way that we normally see it. So of course, if we were to go ahead and promote king captures, and even though we have made a queen, there's nothing protecting it, we're able to just lose that and end in a draw very quickly. If we were to, come back here, come this way, this way, this way, we're going to go ahead and lose that pawn and again end in a draw. So the only obvious move here is to move up. King cannot go here, king cannot go here, king cannot go here. If the king moves away from this square or this square, we're not able to capture when we promote. We'll promote to a queen, and we'll go ahead and win that endgame quite easily for us. All right, moving right along. What are our options as white to move in this particular instance? So we're definitely under some pressure here. We are down quite substantially in material, being both a knight and a bishop down. But we have these passed pawns, and we're putting some pressure on the king here. So what can we potentially do with that? We can't capture anything because we do not have that ability. That's not how chess works. We do have to be somewhat careful of these, but I think we are still in a good position where we can just attack. So if we go ahead and push this pawn up to give a check, the king has a couple options. The king can move over to avoid it, or the king can move up again to avoid it. If the king moves up, we can go ahead and get a queen ourselves, giving check, still protected all the way down. So we're going to do well there. If the king moves this way, what do we have available to us? Well, sort of the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and push this pawn again. And even though they can capture it, we can then promote to a queen. And once again, we are going to be checking the king. So let's go ahead and move this up. Okay, we have the king move over this way. And because this is protected all the way down, we really just need the king to move away. And if the king moves away, we can move this way. King can move out of the way this way or capture the pawn. But either one ends up with us being able to queen on the very next move and comes with check. Let's go ahead and move those up. And again, we are checking the king. No way for them to get out of it. And we can quickly pick off some of the available pieces there and get ourselves back into the game. All right, so this is going to be an interesting one for us to look at, something that you might not pick up on right away, and something that we can help with. So nothing that we can do with any of the pawns. They look sort of scary, not necessarily a great pawn structure. We've got some double pawns here. We've already lost our h5 going all the way up. Only easy things for the knight is there. This rook can't get anywhere. All hope sort of seems lost for a good possible move here. Until you're able to spot this, right? So queen comes up, gives a check on the king. The king can either move here or here. Well, probably here or here, because that wouldn't make any other sense the other way. And once that happens, you'll notice that we've got a little bit of pressure on some places where the king can go. So at this point, we are blocking this and this. We are blocking this and this. So really, we just need to be able to check the king so that it cannot go here and is still being checked. So we have this wonderful move with the queen. And we have our checkmate. Moving right along, we want to take a look at what we have available in terms of our normal checks and captures. So let's take a look real quick. If we were to go ahead and capture this rook all the way down here, it is going to come with check, but a really easy thing to have the queen just capture that. At that point, what do we potentially have available to us? Well, if we go ahead and capture with check, capture this, we can go ahead and take this knight. And the reason we can take this knight, and the reason we can't take this knight right now, is if we go ahead and capture, they capture, we can trade, I guess, the queen for that bishop, not necessarily in our best interest. And because this is going to come with check, it's a little bit more forcing. So they have to deal with that. The most obvious side is obviously to capture here instead of just moving the king out of the way. So let's go ahead and capture that rook. And again, they're going to capture it rather than move up because otherwise it's just a free rook for us. And we'll take that all day. Now we're able to take this knight again because after they capture, we can capture ourselves. We don't necessarily have to worry about any back rank mating because we have this bishop back in line. All right, so this is another great example. We can reset the counter on smothered mates. So you're going to take a look. There's nothing that we can necessarily do here. We can't capture anything with this rook. The king is too far away to do anything. Again, nothing here. We have this potential move with our knight, not necessarily great, just an easy capture. But what do we also have? This wonderful knight f7 smothered mate. Again, you can reset the wonderful counter on that move. Okay, so next up, what do we have available to us in this particular situation? So in our situation here, let's take a look at any of the possible captures. So we have this potential capture, not necessarily great. What else do we have? We have coming all the way down and grabbing this. Again, not necessarily a great move. Lots of ways to recapture that. And then the other one that we have is going to be this move right here. Now, if we were to capture this knight, we are exposing this rook, but because we are also protecting this rook, it is really just going to be a trade down, and we can go ahead and capture this knight. And even though we're going to trade, we're still up that first initial piece. Moving right along, let's take a look to see what we have in this position to potentially ruin Black's day. So if we were to go ahead and capture something, because this is in fact in danger, we could go ahead and capture this. The problem being there's a lot of ways for Black to recapture, not necessarily anything that we want to get our hands in. So if we were to look at possible checks, we have this check. Doesn't necessarily work. But what if we were to do this? So if we were to do this right here, the king can move out of the way, or we can put things in front of the king. So if we were to move down here and the king were to move away, what is potentially something that we can do at that point? Well, at that point, we might be able to capture some pieces. So if we move down here, if the king, in fact, or the queen moves in front, we can go ahead and capture. If we move down, the bishop moves in front, we can go ahead and capture. But in any event, we can come all the way down and the king can move out of the way. And once the king moves out of the way, what else do we have available to us? Well, then we have this move right here, and it is in fact protected by the bishop. Then we can go ahead and slide this queen all the way over and get into a fun little mating pattern. Let's go ahead and check here. And again, we can bring this over because it is protected by the bishop. We'll go ahead and do that. And the only real option there is this, because otherwise we can bring this queen all the way in and give a nice mating pattern. So now we are just up that queen. All right, moving on. So in this particular instance, we have to be very careful about our king and pawn endgame. And the reason that we have to be careful is because we don't want to potentially give our opponent the win here. So right now we can still win this. We don't want to necessarily give the draw for no reason. So in this situation, what we want to potentially do is be the right move. So if we were to come here, black moves here, we can actually move all the way back down. And while we are attacking this pawn, we are also defending our pawn. So at that point, let's move down. The king moves over to attack our pawn, defend theirs. We have one more move available for us. So in the event that happens, we can jump in a little bit earlier than they can. The problem with this move is if they come up here, we come down, we're sort of stuck. So in this event, we can actually come this way. They still come over here, and we're able to drop back in. We don't allow them to do any funny business over here. Let's go ahead and move that. And then again, we want to make sure that we're still protecting our pawn, as well as attacking the black's pawn. And at this point, black has to move away. So even if they move here, still attacking ours, we can go ahead and capture this on our next move. You can see that even if they come here, we can grab this. We're still protecting. Maybe they come this way. Well, again, we can move out of the way and protect as we move our pawn up the board. All right, black to move. We are in check, so we have to deal with that right away. But let's take a look to see what options we have available. So because we have to move out of this, we can capture here, or we can slide back. And the options are pretty much just that. We can't capture the bishop in any other way. So it really does come down to a question of, do we capture the bishop? Do we just move the king out of the way, potentially opening ourselves up to some discoveries? Right, so let's go ahead and capture that bishop. And again, we knew this was coming. Likely this is coming as well. So let's go ahead and move on back. And we just have to be a little bit careful as we continue in the game right here. 100 level puzzle, I don't buy it. All right, next up on the list, what do we have here? So this is going to be kind of an interesting one where we're threatening some trades. Right, so as we're here, let's take a look at some of the potential captures that we have. Right, so we have some captures that we can do. Only a few of them are partially interesting. So this and this both lose the bishop quite quickly, not necessarily something that we want to do. We are in danger right here on this rook to be able to lose our queen. But if we were to go ahead and take this bishop, what would that potentially do for us? Well, the queen can just go ahead and capture the rook right away. So at that point, we've sacrificed a rook for a bishop, not necessarily a great plan. But you've also noticed that this rook is actually only being defended by that queen. So while this is very scary, if we were to kick this queen away, we might be able to pick this rook up. So again, if we capture here and the queen moves over to capture our piece, this is no longer protected and we're able to win this rook. Similarly, if we go ahead and capture here, they capture our queen, we can just go ahead and capture theirs. So they're really in a bad situation here. So let's start it off. They're going to go ahead and capture ours. That's fine. We can go ahead and capture their queen as well. They're going to go up this pawn. Not something that we necessarily need to worry about. We can get our situation in, and it is much improved for what they are dealing with. All right, so another situation of us being down some material and something that we are probably going to have to work with quite quickly. So let's look at all of our available captures, just like we always do. We have this bishop, not necessarily great. we have this, it is protected. We have this, not necessarily great again, and as long as we don't move this bishop, we're going to be in some danger unless we can do some more threatening, something that is slightly more forcing than just going ahead and capturing that. So if we take a look at some of the options available, if we were to go ahead and capture this pawn, it is protected by the bishop, but again, we have to be very, very careful. But if we go ahead and capture this with the bishop, the king has to move. There's no way for the king to deal with anything over here. So it can't move forward. It won't be able to move along this line at all. It will have to move back. And this is protected for pretty much all eternity. So if it moves back, how can we potentially do a little bit more damage? So if it moves back in either situation, we can actually bring this rook back down. And as soon as we bring that rook back down, it is going to be hitting both rows that the king can possibly go to. So we're going to have to start throwing pieces in between the now checkmating rook and the king itself. So let's go ahead and capture this, move straight back. It's not mate yet, but now it is in fact. Rook's on the 7th, mate in 3. All right, taking a look here. Definitely going to be an interesting one. So we want to make sure that black isn't able to promote, and the only way for us to really win this is to be able to promote ourselves. Now conveniently, we have this trapped forever, so the only thing that black can do is to move these pawns. So if we were to capture, black is able to move down, we're able to move up, black moves down, we're able to move up, black moves down, and then we're able to move up, but our moving up, promoting to a queen, comes with check. So even if black was able to get here just an ounce earlier, just a half step earlier, the fact that ours comes with check is going to be the reason that we end up winning this. Now the reason that we're going to capture, and the reason we're not just going to push forward, is because of that check. If we were to do it this way, let's just go ahead and do it real quick. I'll show you how this works out. Sure, we do in fact get the queen first, but then they get our queen, and we have to then move over, which we can't do because they'll just go ahead and capture. So at that point we need to somehow come all the way down, or do some of this, do some funky things. We'll do a little dance. It's much easier if we just go ahead and queen here for the mate. Again, we'll do this. They can't actually move out of this situation, and we go ahead and get that queen, and we're able to win. King is trapped forever. All right, so black to move in this situation. Let's see what we have available. So if we move this knight, it is illegal, and we will end up losing the game. It's not able to be moved. We do have this pawn, but it's looking down the barrel of some bad things. I also have this available for us. So that's kind of limiting what we can do with any real abilities here. We can't move the king in any of these directions because of this pawn and this knight. We can't move the king in either of those directions because of the enemy king. If we move back here, all we're sort of doing is letting the king out. So it really comes down to what can we do with this rook ourselves. So let's take a look to see the options for the rook. If we come here with check, this knight does an excellent job of blocking off this square for us, and the king goes further into the corner. The problem is at that point, that's pretty much all we have. And even if we were to get a signed truce, we could move up, and the king is just going to run away. So if we were to move down, the king doesn't have any squares available. This is blocked off. Our king is hitting these, and we are able to quickly win the game. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. Appreciate everybody jumping on and really enjoying the series that we have going. If you want to follow along with us live, I do stream on Twitch Monday, Thursday, and Saturdays. And if the video is good, please give a like. I appreciate it, and we will see you on the next one.